Welcome to another Pleasure Podcast. I'm Andre Bagu. Joining me in this episode is designer, art critic, and publisher Melanie Archer. Today, we take a look at some of the ghostly things on show at the UWI Visual Art Degree Exhibition, which was held at the National Museum.
Diaz,
who says, "My hooded men represent the reality that we refuse to confront. It gives a voice to the voiceless, and they demand to be heard." 7 human-like forms, and they just standing very silently in the gallery. The way that they're executed, you don't see a base very clearly, because one of the first things I did was to start looking for the legs, because the figures appear to just hover on the ground. And they're covered in this grey fabric. It's a little bit haunting. It's speaking of religious garments. It speaks to, when you used to throw the sheet over yourself as a child and try to scare people as a ghost.
Suggestion of the human body, but then the concealment of that body. I'm reminded of Magritte's, his famous painting with the 2 figures, 2 lovers with their faces covered with sheets. Yeah. But it's also suggesting the ephemeral nature of the body as well. How the body ultimately disappears, and what's left behind is this kind of mold.
Right, its presence.
So there's a lot happening here. All these connotations of spirituality or the supernatural, but also social. What is concealed? Do we ever see each other?
Also, just are we faceless? Are we all faceless? And are we the ones who are faceless, or is this piece also talking about the way in which people become statistics and become just X number of people murdered or X number of women who have disappeared, and the identity of these figures is missing? It could be anybody. When I came into the show on opening night and I was walking around and I rounded the corner and I sort of went, I took a kind of half step back because I didn't know what was going on. And I think it's such a simple piece. It's really elegant though, and there's a lot of impact in the space. The largest piece in the show. Okay, this is Shane Mohammed's work, Anthropomorphic Relations to Found Objects and Intuitive Guidelines and Principles. Create paintings highlighting interactions of form, space, time, and color. It's a foreground, middle ground, and background. It's in traditional painting. But with so many found objects, looking at waistband of some jeans and bottle caps and the backs of chairs, fan blades and fan cases and bottles and plastic plates.
It's like the set from Sanford & Sons, really.
That is precisely what it is. But it makes me think of, Andre, when you and I were in Kingston together and looking at the work of intuitive artists, it almost feels intuitive, like somebody has spent a lifetime collecting objects that have meaning and putting them together into this one work. It also reminds me of that book, Things Come Apart, is it? Where components of different things are picked apart and sort of spread out and put on display. Because he has that happening there with the phone. You can see there's some instances of that.
Intuitive, I always found that term was...
It's problematic.
But in this instance, I guess it's suitable because you wonder about the process of what is the order, what has determined what gets kept and what's not kept. And is it really just intuitive, or is that not inherently contradicted by the fact that the person has made this great effort to collect these things in the first place?
But it can't be intuitive, right? It has to be... Is there such a thing as deliberate intuition?
Deliberate intuition. And it feels pretty much like a cross between a kind of a critique of the rubbish that we leave behind.
Yes.
As well as a veneration of some of the objects that we have in our ordinary life. So it's going in all these different directions. And are we meant to... Perhaps we should walk into it.
Are we meant to get in there?
We are. There's supposed to be lights and music playing, but yes. Ooh.
It gets more interesting the further into you go. Just so many things I can't imagine. I would love to be able to find out just what the process was in terms of arranging them, because everything is fixed, there are punched holes, things are mounted with wire, things are mounted with, I assume, some sort of industrial strength glue.
It's like Dorothy's house.
This is a thing that I find a little bit confusing about the show as an overall show. I'm finding it a little bit difficult to navigate, and I would like to know more about the pieces. And they're identified by number, but those numbers are not relevant on the printed. They don't relate to anything that's on the printed guide. The wayfinding could be better.
Not user friendly.
It's not that user friendly, no. So this is Lendel Fraser, who says, my work as self-portraiture explores my fascination with the topographical nature of my skin and the abstraction of the form. He's taken these strips and applied them to his body and removed them, and it's left imprints, sort of micro imprints pattern of his skin, and I assume various locations of his various parts of his body. Place them on a whiteboard so that they read like they've been making me think of aerial views of distant landscapes, but which is a contradiction because they're actually very micro landscapes of the human bodies, like in the Powers of 10 when they zoom right into the skin level. That's what we're looking at with these pieces. And the way that they're applied to the boards, it's interesting. I found myself wondering, because there's one of them that has maybe 5 strips arranged horizontally and then 2 smaller ones below it, and then almost square, like a spattering of squares of little areas. And I was wondering what would happen if these were on a pristine whiteboard, but it's almost like layers on top of layers. So it's skin, and then it's also the fingerprints of whatever he's using, charcoal or that's being left behind.